Hello there, my name is Matthew. I am a Customer Success Manager with BIM Track, and today we're going to set up our BIM Track project. So the first thing we're going to need to do is log in to our existing BIM Track account once we've been added to the hub. So I'm simply going to go to the login option right here. I'll put in my email address and select the BIM Track Customer Success Team hub. A hub is where we as project admins live and where all of our project or our hub guests live as well. So I can see myself right here. I am the hub owner and I have invited in all of my contributing subcontractors, architect, client, and I've placed them in the hub as a guest, and I've also assigned them to a project. This process is very easy. You put in their email address, you define their role, again, admin for internal users, guests for external users, and then you place them on the necessary project, keeping all other projects in the hub confidential. There is a very nice import user tool right here. So if we did need to copy and paste a large number of email addresses, we can do so right here. Then we can select multiple users and batch assign them to a project with the specific role. Great. Those users are now in the hub and they have been placed on an existing project. If we don't have an existing project, we will need to add a new one. There we go. We'll give this a name and we'll be able to select a template. I'm going to use this car dealership template, which originated from my existing project. And when we create this project, we're taken directly to the settings page and we're ready to start defining our general settings and attributes. The attributes are the metadata that are assigned to an issue typically during its creation process, but are completely customizable and changeable as time proceeds. So the first attribute we see here is zone. Now, a zone could be a level in our project, but we typically see them being separated into larger areas or buildings. So on this project I'm working on, it's another car dealership. I have a garage, a mezzanine, roof, showroom floor, those sorts of things. We can simply rename attributes if need be to fit the new project. We can change their colors or we can delete them completely. Next, we have phase. Phases are the obvious phase of the project we're working on. Could be in the coordination phase, the design phase, review, on-site, whatever the case may be. We'll skip over status for the time being. We'll return there shortly. Types. What type of issue are we looking at on the project? These can vary from clashes to code violations, financial issues, modeling errors. Again, you will already have some of these in your templates, but we can reverse engineer as need be. The disciplines on the project, you'll notice that there are no color columns here, and that's because multiple disciplines can be assigned to an issue. And then we have the priority. So this is the severity of the issue on the project. Low, medium, high, or critical. This could be based off of the number of days it takes to resolve or that we want that issue resolved in. It could be how many teams it impacts. So you'll notice here I have more than 2 teams involved or just 2 teams involved on a high priority issue, that sort of thing. We also have custom attributes. So custom attributes can be defined to be whatever we'd like. It can be something like a grid value. It could be something along the lines of an RFI required. We can have yes or no values here. Those are predefined custom attributes that we are able to define the selectable options. If we use a custom value, we may want to have a cost here. And now our users are contributing subcontractors can put in any kind of numerical value they like. We can only delete attributes that are not in use in the project. So if at some point in time I would like to remove one of these phases, I can just come back into the project settings and take it out. Those are the attributes. They've been defined. This, as I said, is the metadata applied to an issue. We're going to define our general settings now. By default, the due date for my new issues is 7 days. That's great. I can increase or decrease that value to whatever I'd like. Keep in mind, these days do not take weekends into consideration. If I create this issue on a Wednesday and the default due date of 4 days, it will be due on that Sunday. The default issue color attribute, I have it set to priority. All of the issues I create in my project will be given either the blue, green, yellow, or red color code because it's using priority. I recommend priority. A lot of times people would like to color code by status, but I like to use filters to remove issues that have been closed or resolved from my project. And finally, we have the mandatory issue attributes. These are the 4 attributes that absolutely have to be defined before an issue can be published to BIM Track. This is incredibly important for our metrics. So when we want to start extracting information about this project, I know every single issue I've created will always have a due date, will always have a priority, a status, and a type. You're able to add or remove specific attributes. And again, it ties into the metrics, as I said, because these are the attributes that I will always be able to count on and I'll always be recording in my project. Whereas in my example here, zone is not mandatory. Therefore, I'm able to publish issues without a zone associated to them. All right, we have to discuss the status tab. You will notice a new column here called confidentiality, and I already have some values set. But the confidentiality column is referring to teams. Teams are defined here on the teams and users page. From my template, I already have a bunch of teams. I simply added them by clicking add team, giving the team a name, and you'll notice that teams are named after the companies that are contributing to that project. There's the architectural team, the client, fire, plumbing, mechanical, structure. We create those, and then it's time to bring in the users that work for those teams. So we have added the users into the hub settings, but now I need to push them onto this new project that I created. So there are 2 ways, as I said, of getting them onto this project. I can simply add a user and I can select them from the pool of people that I've invited into the hub. This is my mechanical user. So I'll place them on the all user team and the mechanical team, and I will define their project role. This user can be an admin, an editor, or a reader. A contributing user, such as my mechanical service provider here, would likely fit the role of editor. This allows this individual to contribute to the project, but not take away. So I'll click OK right there. And my mechanical user, Jan, has been placed on the all users team, which is a team I'm going to put everybody on, which allows me to communicate globally with everybody on the project, and they are placed on their corresponding mechanical team. I could repeat this process for each individual user, but as I mentioned before in the hub settings, if I wanted to simply select all of these individuals, I could quickly batch assign them to my new project as an editor, just like that. And when we go back to our new project, right here on the teams and users page, everyone here is waiting for us. I'm not going to go through the process of putting each individual on their appropriate team. I do want to mention the client here. I would like to define his role as a reader. This stops the client from contributing to the project. This is a read only or a look but don't touch role. I'm also going to restrict him to his appropriate team. The one other individual I'm going to modify right now is myself. I am going to place myself on every single team, which I encourage you as the project admin or project creator to do, because this gives me complete visibility control on every single issue that is created in my project. If my mechanical user creates an issue internally in their authoring platform and restricts confidentiality to their mechanical team, which is an okay workflow, it's encouraged, they can communicate internally, resolve issues, I still want to be able to see that issue. I want to know what my users are working on. I'm also going to place myself on the BIM Track team. I am the only user on this team. And by doing so, when I get to my project settings and head to the status tab, we can see that the BIM Track team is the only team that has access to the closed or resolved status. This stops my users from sweeping issues under the carpet. It allows me that extra level of accountability when assigning issues to my users and they are informing me that the issue is ready for review or fixed. Again, in the templates that we use to create our projects, we may already see this information here for us. So just make sure that you are on the appropriate team that can close issues. Perfect. So to reiterate, we've gone through the hub settings, invited users into our hub so that they can see and work on the projects we want them working on. We've created our first project, right here. We've defined the settings. We've gone through the attributes. We've gone through the general settings. We can control the categories of the elements we see in the viewer. So if I expose or expand the general option here, I can see that all of the beams that are going to be visible in the viewer are going to be this shade of blue. Columns are going to be red. Roofs and slabs here could have some transparency applied to them. I'm going to hide spaces and maybe staircases. We are globally controlling how objects are seen in the viewer. We save those settings and then we can create a template of this project's themes, settings, category overrides. Right there. There is my new template. Perfect. We've also added the users to the project and placed them, or some of them here, on their appropriate teams. This project is ready to start. We're ready to start creating issues and pushing them into BIM Track. Once we start seeing some issues here, they will be displayed for us on the issues page. I'd like to quickly switch to an active project that has some issues already going. So here we are in an active project. The settings are identical to the ones we've just configured, as are the teams. However, we've just gone through the creation process and pushed a lot of information up to the cloud here. Once this project is underway, we can start filtering for specific issues. I can say, I would like to see issues that are new and in progress, or that are of high and critical priority, and that are perhaps due by the end of next week. My issue list is narrowed down to these 75 results right here. There are those issues. With a filter on my project here, I can create what's called a quick filter. This is going to allow us to lead the hand of the users that are contributing to this project. So again, these are the 75 issues that are extremely important to me. As I open up quick filters, you'll notice there are already a few here. I definitely want to make this shared, and I'm just going to call this attribute, or sorry, this quick filter, fix these critical issues. And we can put the date in there. It was by 02/21/2020. Perfect. Great. All of the contributing users on my project will see this quick filter. They're able to apply it to their issue list in any environment, and then they are able to add their own name right here. So as my structural user puts his name and applies that criteria, we see the results narrow down to those 13. So each individual user will be able to modify that quick filter for themselves personally. And again, we're going to start leading the hand of those users on the project. Let's take that filter off. Let's put on another type of filter right here. These are the ready for review or fixed issues. And I'm looking at a bunch of issues that my users have claimed to have resolved. Issues that have been populated or generated from the Clash Detective in Navisworks from our coordination platform can be closed automatically, and that'll be covered in another session. But issues that are pushed into BIM Track manually, such as issue 803, 687 right here, need to be closed manually as well. And we can hold control and select multiple issues. And from this gear icon, I can multi-edit. And I'm able to now close or tell everybody on the project that those issues are resolved. And once I apply that, they disappear because they no longer meet my filtering criteria. If I'm curious about this issue right here, 553, I click on it and it opens. I'm able to see all of that metadata or attributes that we've defined on the project settings on this issue. When it was created, when it's due, what phase it was created, and where it is. But the idea of BIM Track is to communicate directly on an issue rather than about an issue in a phone call, email, or text message. Here in the comments, I'm able to communicate. I can ask questions. I can direct this question at an individual so I can see it assigned to my structural user. I'm not convinced that it's ready for review. I'm going to use the @ symbol and tag Kevin in the comment section, sending him a forced notification that he cannot escape. There is no way to turn off that forced notification. We're also able to make modifications to the issues here. So I can switch this issue from a modeling error to perhaps a financial issue and reopen it. Make that save right there. And when I get to the history of this issue, I'm able to see all of the, or I can see the entire issue's lifespan, every modification that's ever been made, and by who. So when the due date was modified by an individual structural user, when I updated that due date a second time, and when I've made those modifications right now. So complete transparency and accountability. In the attachments tab, which I skipped over, I'm able to add attachments here. So if I've got a PDF right there, I can just attach it to this issue and we'll be able to download that PDF from any environment, other cloud-based platforms, other browsers, by other users. We can download it in Revit, Navisworks, AutoCAD, you name it. This is what we can do on an issue. Very straightforward. Again, if we jump right back to the issues page, we can modify the filters however we see fit. We also have the ability of selecting all of these issues and exporting them either to a BCF file format or an Excel sheet. If we just quickly do that, we'll take a look at these 15 issues we just pushed out. We see that information right here. So these are all ready for review fixed issues. I can see their priority, discipline, zones, all of that metadata. Great. all of that information that's being pushed into BIM Track is being sent directly to the metrics as well. So there are a variety of ways we can look at this information. Right now, I'm able to see which of my contributing users is dealing with the most number of issues. In that case, in my case here, it's my mechanical user, followed by my plumbing fire guy, my structural. If I want to start to follow that user's issues, I can just click on their portion of the metric donut chart right here and then see who created those issues for that user or the status of those issues. And again, this is tying back into our project settings. Remember, status was a mandatory attribute, and therefore I'm able to see all of the information filled out accordingly. Whereas zone, which was not a mandatory attribute, provides me with 57 not set issues. So individual users can come into the metrics page, find their own name, and then start following that path. As the lead coordinators on the project, we are also able to, or could rather filter by status and say, you know what, I would like to see the 56 in progress issues, and I'd like to see their priority. And I'm interested in those critical issues and perhaps what group they came out of, or what are they, or what zone they're in. So as you can see, we start following these different paths that are going to start providing us with answers to questions that maybe we didn't know we had. Or perhaps we're going to start seeing that it's about time the mechanical user brought in another modeler to help alleviate some of these issues because they're clearly dealing with an overwhelming amount of work. Down at the bottom of the metrics page is the total versus closed total versus closed chart here. I'm able to monitor how many issues had been in the project on any given day versus how many issues were closed. If we start taking a closer look at these metrics here, I'm going to start noticing the spikes in the number of issues that are being closed or perhaps created, typically indicating the publication of new models. So as the Clash Detective is updated, and a large number of issues are being resolved, that will also be reflected here in BIM Track. So we're able to monitor that and start seeing patterns progress and hopefully see this blue portion catch up to the green portion and indicate all issues being closed. Now these metrics tie into the reports. Reports are very, very useful for individual subcontractors as well for ourselves during coordination meetings to monitor progress, a variety of other things. You'll notice that the filtering options are identical to the issues page. We just want you guys to feel comfortable by going in here and saying, I want to see my new and in progress and maybe reopened issues. Again, we can modify priorities, disciplines, types, that sort of thing. And of course, you can create templates. So I've got a lot of personal templates as well as shared templates. I'm going to use this template called coordination meeting. Again, I'm looking for in progress, new and reopened issues that are of medium, high, and critical importance or priority. We can again put in any other filtering criteria we see fit. In issue grouping, I've opted to group by due date. And this is going to show me all of my overdue issues. Oops, I have to go ascending. It'll show me all of my overdue issues first. Then I'd like to group by priority. And it's going to show me all of my overdue critical issues, and then all of my overdue high, and then overdue medium priority issues. So we can control the order in which these issues are displayed to us in the report. That way, if we're running through a coordination meeting with the report, we're talking about the most important or severe issues first. Then we get to the issue properties and metrics. Here we can specify which properties we would like exposed in the report we're about to generate. I would like to see the priority. I would like to see who those issues are assigned to, its status, what it is and where it is, and when it's due. It's good to expose that because we've opted to group by it. I typically match the metrics right here to the properties that I've exposed, and that way it's just a lot of data-rich information. But I'm also going to show the average opened issue age. It's a fun metric just to see how long these issues are open in our project. I could show that total versus closed issues chart again. I can specify a date range. I don't have to if I'm not interested in it. I can include archived issues if I'd like, but we don't have to go through that. We can. It's up to you. I usually opt not to, and if I was interested in creating a report for archived issues, I'll show us how we can do that momentarily. In the advanced options, I'll auto define how many issues get displayed per page. It usually has to do with how many comments have been added to an issue or how many additional images. With that template created, defined, I can print that report. There, it's opening up in a new tab. Or we could schedule this report. And I'm going to use the template I have activated. I'm going to call this my weekly coordination meeting. We're going to host it weekly, so we'll select weekly. Maybe those meetings are every Wednesday. So starting Wednesday next week at exactly 7:30 a.m., I would like this report sent to the architectural team, the fire protection team, mechanical, structural, you name it. Or, like I showed at the beginning of the recording here, I have the all users team. Now, anybody I've included on that team will receive this report. Schedule. Perfect. Next Wednesday, 7:30 a.m., everybody on the project will receive an email with a link to this report right here. Out of the 688 issues on the project, there are 319 in this report. It's taking me on average 39.8 days to resolve an issue. Here's how they are split up amongst my contributing users. We've got a lot of high priority issues here. They're my issues by zone, by status, by type. And here are all of those issues. I've got some very overdue critical issues here. As you can see, this was due December 27th. It's high priority. Oh, I put the priority in the wrong order. Issue 394, sync at wrong place. Very overdue. I can see comments. I can see the properties I've asked it to expose. If at any point in time I want more information about this issue, I can simply click on its title and it will take me to the issues page where I can add comments from the meeting, where I can tag users again. So I've opted to tag my architect and perhaps the fire and plumbing guy. I'll post that right there. Great. Check on the history of the issue, see how things have progressed, get the answers I need in the meeting, close the issue, and we keep scrolling. And again, the week later, BIM Track will generate a brand new HTML right here, which I can simply just copy. And if I'm not contributing in BIM Track, let me do this on my other screen. If I paste that link right there and open it up, I see the same issues, but when I try to open the issue itself, it prompts me to sign in. Why I'm showing you this is because you're able to share this HTML link with anybody, whether they are on the BIM Track project or not. Great. That's how we generate them, create the templates. By creating a shared template, what my users can do, again, similar to the quick filters, is they can apply that template. They can push their own name into the assigned to field. And when they print that report, out of those 300 issues we had just created or we had seen in the report, my structural user is only responsible for 38. So he's ready to start reviewing his issues before we even get into that coordination meeting. It's a nice way to share the information to let everybody know what it is we need resolved. Perfect. If we need ever to archive an issue, such as issue 1003 right here, I can click on this little gear icon. I can also multi-select by holding control, multiple issues, and archive them. When we archive an issue, they automatically get closed, removed from the project, and they appear here. I have 220 archived issues. I can see all the information about them. If I wanted a report on, let's just say, these first 15 archived issues, I select them, I restore them to the project, and I can apply a status to them. Again, this status is being derived from my project settings. So I'm going to select this unarchived status that I created. I say restore. I head to the issues page. I filter for unarchived issues. Right there. Perfect. I can either select all and export to PDF, or I could go right to the reports page and say, just give me a report on unarchived issues. There they are, all 15 of them. Oh, I didn't unspecify everything, so I get a lot of information there. Clash, perfect, perfect. I have my report. We can just go right back to the issues page. I've still got that filter on, so I just select them all and re-archive them. Perfect. There's my archived issues report, and my issues are back on the archived issues page. That report that we had scheduled to be published every Wednesday morning at 7:30 is saved in the automated tasks page right here. There it is, weekly coordination meeting, 7:30. I can see it right here. It tells me that it's upcoming, it's weekly. Great, I can delete that task right there, just like that. Now it won't push that report out every week. I could go back and reschedule it to take place at a different time. Perfect. Anytime we invite somebody to BIM Track to get them working on the project, we need them to configure their profile page. There we go. My profile page, that's me. The most important control or option we need to specify here is our time zone. If we're working with users in different states, countries, continents, we need our time zone to be accurate. We need to specify it where we are located geographically. That's because everything we do in BIM Track is timestamped, as you've been seeing, every comment, every modification. And we want all of those timestamps, which report to the metrics, to be as accurate as possible. We don't want issues looking like they were opened in the future or closed in the past. We want them as is. It's here on our profile page where we will also control our own personal notification settings. I like to mention this because every individual user has the ability of coming in here and displaying or modifying how they receive those notifications. They can receive them daily, immediately, or weekly, but they also have the ability of disabling these updates. This is why we use those forced notifications with the @ symbol. There is no option here for them to turn that off. So again, on your profile page, define your notification settings and set up your time zone. And just below your profile page is the integrations where you can come and download the Autodesk add-in right there. So if we're working within Navisworks, Revit, or any of the supported AutoCAD flavors, they're the installers. If a structural user is working in Tekla, they can find it right here if they start asking about it. And that is the setup process, creating a project, getting it up and running, and a little look behind the curtains at kind of leading the hand of our users.